Hey everybody. Yeah, funny thing happened on the way to trying to put a show together. We had some serious technical difficulties and yeah, so we're currently trying to get everybody back in. It looks like Johnny's thing shut down our our entire show, which is wild. So yeah, I have to go ahead and send this over to him. So if you bear with us for a sec, we'd appreciate it. And Jamie, if you're still there, start in the comments again. Yeah, that was weird. So we're going along, we're talking and everything, and then boom, everything just crashes. And yeah, sorry, I was trying to get you the link.
You're good.
Okay.
Invite underneath.
I can hear you. I can see you. We're live, baby.
Okay.
The internet knows the Broncos suck so bad they cut out your show. Yeah.
This is far.
All right. Johnny's internet is not coming around. If we can get Steven back, he can talk for Johnny.
Can you?
Johnny doesn't need to talk.
Wait, can you hear me now?
Yeah.
I can hear you now.
So
Not
we're
now,
good.
though.
We're good.
Nope,
You're
frozen again.
cutting in and out periodically.
Oh, dude. This is absolute.
Oh, you just sped up real fast. That was funny. Like it was trying to catch up.
Well, nevertheless, it's good to see you guys again.
Yeah. This is great
Absolutely.
content too.
I know, right? I love
Absolutely.
I've been watching it on my phone and I was genuinely laughing my ass off, like the people being like, yeah, of course they don't show those damn Broncos fans.
Everybody's really glad they tuned in. Are you sending the link to Steven?
Right here.
Yeah.
All right. I'll take your answer off the air. All right. So thank you for joining us again. It is rivalry week in Denver. They're getting ready to host the Raiders. I was just going off on how shit the Raiders are, and at 2-8, it's not looking good. But the Broncos are 6-5 and look to be putting a playoff possible run together. Bo Nix has been a delight and a surprise for a lot of people. And yeah, Brock Bowers has been the shining light in the Raiders season. So we will get Steven back, and then I will ask him again what he thinks of the 4.5 point line. But Jamie is currently lighting the chat on fire. Did we finally see a Marvin Mims sighting? Only took 2 years to target Sean Payton. Sean Payton first Broncos draft pick. What a waste of talent. I did tweet his touchdown on Sunday. Something about Bo Nix reminding Sean Payton that Marvin Mims was actually on the team. And it was nice to see. I was kind of glad that I drafted him in the Scott Fish Bowl, and he did nothing until I was already out of it. So thanks, Marvin. Thanks.
I just want to say before we move on that while Bo Nix's performance may be surprising to a lot of people, it's not surprising to me. I'm a giant Oregon Ducks fan. I watched every single game that Bo Nix played as an Oregon Duck. What he's doing for the Denver Broncos is nothing any different than what he did for the Oregon Ducks. He was amazing for the Ducks. He was very close to winning the Heisman Trophy. Maybe should have won the Heisman Trophy. Was easily the best quarterback until he played Washington, in which he turned back into a pumpkin, turned back into Auburn Bo Nix. But what he's doing right now is what he has done for the last 2 years, and he's only going to keep getting better. When we were on the draft night thing for Undroppables, there were a lot of people in there talking a lot of smack about Bo Nix. And I said, look, guys, just because you've said this right now, you may as well fit Bo Nix for his gold jacket right now because he's going to be amazing just because you were talking bad about him. And guess what? I was right. I'm always right. I'm always going to be right in the future. Listen to me.
I mean, he hit his ceiling already. And also, Jamie, with the comment of the week, remember that time the Broncos scored 43 points in the Super Bowl? Oh, wait, that was the Seahawks. That one's fire, Jamie. Thank you for that very much. All right, Steven. So when last we spake, I think that's how you say it. The Broncos are 4.5-point favorites at home, which Vegas always gives a team 3 points for home field advantage, which means that they're thinking this is going to be a lot closer than probably everybody else does. What's your take on the 4.5-point spread and how the Broncos season has been going so far?
Well, on the point spread, I think it makes sense. Anytime you have a division game, it's going to be a lot closer. Like if you look at the AFC North, every single one of their games is like that. It doesn't matter if they're 8-2 or 2-8. It's always a close game. And I think that the way that the Broncos and the Raiders play each other sort of lends itself to that type of football. And as I was saying before we got kicked off the other stream, Broncos fans are quite happy with the way the season's been going. Vegas gave us 5.5 wins across the whole season. We're at 6. A lot of people weren't happy with Bo Nix as our pick at the draft, but through the offseason and watching him progress every week, we're all really buying in and rallying around him, and it's a lot of fun to watch. Last week, we just routed the Atlanta Falcons, and we're hoping to build on it and make a playoff push.
Yeah, it's actually kind of a tale of two of opposites. Real quickly, Megan Tuma. Wonder if she's related. She's a Bo-liever. She's got Bo in fantasy. It's really 180 degrees opposite of what we all thought. Like the Raiders over under was 6.5, and I was like, "There's no way they're gonna lose that many games." And the Broncos were theirs was 5.5, and I was like, bet the under. And whoop, hey, guess what happened? We're dog shit, and you guys are going to the playoffs. So pretty strange the way that things work out. And I wonder what the hell the Raiders as an organization did to deserve this karma.
I'm gonna go with the benching of Marcus Allen personally.
Yeah, that's. I mean, that was the last time we were. Well, we had a stint of relevancy with our little potential dynasty in early 2000s. Sorry. Wow, what? How many quarterbacks did it take to replace Peyton Manning? Asking for a friend.
7.
I think
He's talking a lot of smack for a 2-win team.
For a Browns fan.
He's a Browns fan. He's not.
It's a Browns fan. That's
Yeah.
even worse.
We don't
even
claim
worse.
Jamie Perog. No.
I'm pretty sure.
Talk shit.
Pretty sure the Browns are a 2-win team also.
The Browns
Aren't
are
they?
the only team to make a trade worse than the Broncos did with trading for Russell Wilson.
Now you forget about the Trent Richardson trade. They did that one too, but I think that was probably worse for the Colts than it was for the Browns.
Yeah.
Trent Richardson was terrible for the Raiders too.
I have blocked that out of my memory. Thank you for bringing that to me. I'm going to have nightmares tonight of him running into his own offensive line and ignoring the 6-foot hole direct to the right of where he was going.
Oh God, that was the heyday of Silver and Black Pride. Ted Wynn, going, what the hell is this?
Those are the good old days of being shitty.
Oh my God, that was rough. So the last time we did this show, it was better days, halcyon days, you could say. It was like week 3 or week 4 or something like that. The Raiders were not quite as dog shit as they are now. And so, we had pretty cool segments like, the history of the rivalry. And we talked about how we saw the game going. I'm pretty sure we're in consensus that the Raiders are going to win this week just because Why wouldn't they? You know what I mean? Like, everybody thinks that they're not going to, so that's the perfect time to zig when everybody else is zagging.
Well, the perfect time would have been against the Dolphins when people thought, hey, why not? And then they still didn't, because all three of their top cornerbacks got hurt, and they had a skeleton crew secondary, and they forced 0 punts and 0 turnovers for the first time in a game since like 1991, and their offense couldn't score in the red zone. So that's why not.
Yeah, AJ Cole, 1 punt. I haven't seen a 1 punt Raiders game in a long time.
It's been a while.
Pretty remarkable. So I haven't seen any updates on what's happening with the injury report, but we were down Nate Hobbs last week, and then Jack Jones and Jacorian Bennett both got hurt in game. There's a possibility that we are out all 3 starting cornerbacks. How does that help Bo Nix?
Well, it helps him a lot. If he's got guys running open like he did last week, the offensive line has been holding up real well and giving him plenty of time in the pocket. I think he has one of the better time to pass ratings in the league. So if you let him sit back there and dissect the field, you know, Cortland Sutton's been making some crazy catches, and even these scrubs that no one knows who they are, they're coming in and contributing and making a name for themselves. And Sean Payton turned Marvin Mims into Debo Light, so that's been a lot of fun too.
Yeah, I feel like DeCameron Richardson is going to be able to kind of contain or help to contain Cortland Sutton, which is basically the crux of the Broncos' aerial attack. But now Marvin Mims is a wild card. What the hell? I've been sitting on him for 2 years, and he finally decides to show up again after the first couple weeks of last season.
I just thought of something awful. I thought of something that's gonna crush me even more than the last 20 years have already crushed me. And that's when, in the second round of the 2025 NFL draft, the Denver Broncos draft Tez Johnson and rip my heart out of my chest through my butthole and stomp on it. That's going to be probably the worst day of my life, and maybe the worst 5 seconds of my life when that draft pick is read out. So pray for me, please.
Why do you think the Broncos are going to grab Tez Johnson?
Because they always do. They fucking drafted Royce Freeman and stomped on my heart. They drafted Bo Nix and stomped on my heart. They do this. This is what they fucking do because they hate me on a personal level.
Troy Franklin?
No, Royce Freeman and Troy Franklin too. That, you know what? I was so mad about Bo Nix, I even forgot about Troy Franklin. That pissed me off so much. I blacked out. I literally blacked out and erased the memory from my brain. But yeah, that pissed me off too. Thanks for bringing that up.
You're very welcome.
At least for your sake, Royce Freeman sucked. So
well, that is true, but on draft day, that did not make me feel any better.
Tyler, are you insinuating that you're happy with the Broncos or the Raiders taking Bo Nix in the first round?
Well, you know what? We wouldn't be tanking for a quarterback next year, but that would also mean we don't have Brock Bowers, and I would prefer to be tanking and have Brock Bowers on my team.
Yes, I 100% concur with that.
Because Bo Nix didn't eat pizza from Bigz, so he doesn't have those superpowers.
That's fair. That's very fair.
I was hoping we were going to Brock Bowers. And so when we took Bo Nix, I was actually a little upset because I'm like, we reached on this guy. Everybody around the grid on him. So I'll be the first to eat my words. It's kind of funny seeing people just still counting him out and still being like, oh, you know, it's nothing games. Let's not get ahead of ourselves. It's like this dude's legitimately breaking records. He's the first rookie quarterback in NFL history with 75% completions, 300 yards, and 4 touchdowns in a game. So at a certain point, you just got to recognize the dude is balling, you know, and yeah, he's still going to have ups and downs, but I mean, I'll be the first to say, like, what a pleasant surprise. I think the team needs, you know, you mentioned being down corners on your guys' end. Now it's a level playing field for him. He should really rip it up, right? Because he's been playing with nobody on offense besides the ghost of Cortland Sutton, basically, and still making that offense look good. So it'll be, this is, to your point though, Bigz, a typical like trap game where you're like, oh, they're down their three corners. The Broncos look good. The Raiders look bad. And I'm in a survivor pool where you have to pick one team every week. And my strategy, you guys are going to hate it, but pick whoever the Raiders are up against as my
that's a perfectly sound strategy to me.
Did you say that's your streaming defense? Is that what you're saying?
No, in my so it's a survivor pool. You pick.
Got it. Okay.
And I've been picking I picked the Dolphins last week, a couple weeks ago. I don't know who it was because you guys were on a bye recently, but then the week whoever Raiders are up, my guarantee week, and it's been working out well for me. But now I'm a little hesitant because I'm a Broncos fan, and I'm like, man, I know how these games go for us sometimes.
Yeah. And the last time I was in a survivor pool was in the 2010s, I want to say. And it was right in the 2012, 13, 14, something like that, when Peyton Manning was the quarterback and the Broncos were supposed to go on a Super Bowl run that year. And I took them in the first week of the season and they got trashed, and I was out in week 1. So, don't pick the Broncos in Survivor. What do the Broncos and Possums have in common? Both play dead at home and get killed on the road. Thanks, Jamie. All right. And I gotta tell you, Johnny, if you know what a mouth harp is, the little those little instruments, that's what your voice sounds like right now with your stream, because you keep bouncing in and out. It's funny.
I think
anyway,
he potato for his microphone this evening.
All right. So the big question, Audric Estime, is he the RB1 or is it still Javonte Williams? What is happening? What is going through Sean Payton's mind? Who do we focus on? Who do we have to stop this week?
See, that's a confusing one for like everybody. I'm a big fantasy football guy. I'm sure you guys are too. And right when you think Javonte is losing his job, like the game that you think he's done, that's the game that he looks really good. He breaks out a little. He has a nice run like this past week. It wasn't necessarily him. It was the offense. It was the cavalry, lifting him and walking him into the end zone. But outside of that, he still looked pretty good. So I think you're going to continue to see a good amount of splits there. But I think Javonte is going to get the 60% bulk of it. And Estime is going to get probably 25-30%, and then Jaleel McLaughlin and Marvin Mims will split the speed back, whatever receiving back type of splits out of there. It's really unpredictable. It's hard to get a read on it. But I think down the road, I think after this year, I think you'll see Audric Estime a lot more.
And how do Broncos fans feel about that? Is it more pro Javonte, more anti Javonte, more get him out of there, put Estime in?
Well, I don't know if you guys, I don't think you guys follow me on Twitter, but anyone that follows me on Twitter knows that I can't stand watching Javonte. Like, I love Javonte, but too many times you'll see him with a wide open hole right in front of him, and he just cuts right in. Like what you guys were saying with Trent Richardson, he'll just dive right into the nearest defender or into the back of his lineman. And it's just mind-boggling. It's like, dude, you just had a 20-yard carry that went for 2 yards. What are you doing? And then the next play, he'll barrel over 2 or 3 guys, and you'll be like, oh, my God, this is the greatest player ever. So it's a very love-hate relationship, I think, between Broncos country and Javonte Williams.
So he's your Alexander Madison, is what you're saying.
Oh yeah, it's quite frustrating.
Uh, what was your Twitter handle again? It was SD Wright Esquire.
So it's SDWYERESQ.
Dwyer.
Dwyer Esquire.
Yeah,
There you go.
I had it on the screen and then there it is. Oh, nope, I don't follow you. I do now.
I do either, but I will rectify that.
Twitter is a dying animal, just like the Raiders season. Jamie just keeps putting comments in there. All right, Jamie, you got to up your game. When they start getting funny, then I'll start putting more on the screen. RaiderDamus.
Yes, sir.
Before you get your message from the great beyond,
Yes.
what's happening this week? What's going on with the Raiders?
Well, what's going on with the Raiders is probably the same thing that's been going on with the Raiders, and that's not a whole heck of a lot. The Raiders don't have a ton of trouble moving the ball between the 20 and the other 20, but once they get inside the opponent's 20, they forget how to play football. I will say that the Raiders' offense looked a heck of a lot better under Scott and Norv Turner than it did under Luke Getsy. It looked a little more efficient. It looked more explosive. It looked like there were people who knew what they were doing. And by that, I mean people who knew to throw the ball to Brock Bowers on every single goddamn play, which is exactly what the Raiders should be doing right now. And not just for my fantasy team, but for the good of the team itself. Unfortunately, the defense got so injured that they were completely incapable of stopping the Dolphins even one time. No turnovers forced, no punts forced. The Dolphins scored on every single possession that they had unless they knelt the ball out. That was like one of the most pathetic defensive performances I've ever seen, and certainly not one I would have expected from the Raiders coming into the season, considering how well they ended last season under Patrick Graham. But They are so beset by injuries right now that they are a shell of what we thought they could be. And so I don't see them being able to execute on either side of the ball against the Broncos, even as well as they did against the Dolphins. At least in Miami, you don't have to worry about the weather. But in Denver, you certainly do, especially in this part of the year. It may not be snowing, it may not be a blizzard, but it's certainly not going to be nice. And as somebody who lives in the Rocky Mountains, I can tell you, you can't fucking breathe. So I don't think it's gonna go very well.
I agree. Hey, Johnny, you don't seem to be freezing. Are you back?
I'm back, baby. I'm alive. I had to move to a different part of the house. Wait, Tyler, where do you live?
I live in darkest outer Montana, about 30 minutes outside of Butte, right between Bozeman and Missoula. The moose live around here. The deer just walk through my neighborhood like they own the place. And I still can't breathe. I've been here for like 7 or 8 years now, and I haven't caught my breath one time.
Who was Luke Getsy? Who was he the OC for before the Raiders?
The Bears.
Yeah, that's what I thought.
Offensive savants, the Chicago Bears. He was their guy.
And the Packers before that.
Yeah, I don't know why these guys keep getting gigs. You know what I mean? Like him, Shane Waldron, right? It's just like, come on. We all know these guys suck, and then they continue to get chances in the league calling plays. So
Doug Peterson is literally a head coach in the NFL still.
Dude, after that loss, I was like telling everybody, I said, there's no way after the Lions blow the brakes off these guys that he'll have a job the next day. And then I'm like, yep, they blew the brakes off him. Now we get to see the firing, and apparently he is still a head coach in the NFL.
To be fair, the Jaguars are the worst team in the NFL, and the Lions might possibly be the best. So I was not surprised whatsoever by what happened to the Jaguars in that particular game. You can say, oh, the Chiefs are so good. Well, everybody saw what happened to the Chiefs against the Broncos. They blocked a field goal, or they would have lost. The Lions, I think, are better than the Chiefs right now, and I think if they play again, that will play out.
Yeah, it should be a Bills Lions Super Bowl or Ravens, but Bills look stronger. My Super Bowl is when we play Jacksonville coming up, because that's going to be who wants to tank harder.
That'll be the toilet bowl of the century.
Johnny, prediction time. What do you think happens on Sunday?
Man, I think what was the score of the first game? We won what, like 34-16 or something?
Yeah, it got out of hand in the second half.
Yeah. But I want to be conservative here. Do we know what's the over under?
4.5. Oh, the over under is 41.5.
I would say, for my gambling friends, I would expect us to hit the over, and I will say like 28-20. Let's call it that. I give us an 8-point win.
Yeah, we the over under. I remember that week we absolutely cleared the over on that one.
Right.
Sorry, it's the money line. The open is 4.5. Denver favored by 4.5. The spread is actually -6. So
Okay.
they are favored to win by a little bit more than a touchdown. And Steven, you concur?
I'm sort of around the same ballpark. Our defense is just too good, and if we don't allow a first play bonehead, Brock Bowers touchdown, if we don't do that again, I think it'll be relatively low scoring on your part. So something like 24-16 sounds about right for me.
So you have the under. You got a score, Tyler?
Yeah, I think it's not unreasonable to assume that the Broncos hit the over by themselves. And I don't think the Raiders are going to have much of an answer for Bo Nix or the Broncos running game. I think you can switch in whoever you want and their aged grandmother at running back, and it wouldn't matter against the Raiders defense right now. I'm going to go Broncos 38-20.
Brock is the Broncos don't allow a lot to tight ends, but Brock is one that has gashed them, and he's his second best game of the season came in the first contest against the Broncos. I see something similar. I think Javonte is going to run all over the Raiders. I think they're going to be able to pass. So far, the current injury report is, it's Wednesday, but for the Broncos, Delaware Turner Yell and Drew Sanders are the only ones that are out. Brandon Jones and Ben Powers are questionable. And then for the Raiders, we have Justin Shorter, Harrison Bryant, Nate Hobbs, Jacorian Bennett. Oh, come on. I just got a Dear Xfinity customer. Congratulations. Fuck you. Right in the way of my web page. All right. Justin Shorter, Harrison Bryant, Nate Hobbs, Jacorian Bennett, Zamir White, Jack Jones, Alexander Madison, Cody Whitehair, and Andre James are all questionable. Madison didn't practice today. Stop. Oh my, it happened again. What is going on? I'm trying to read the stupid thing.
Is Amir Abdullah gonna be your guys' RB1 this week? Is that a thing?
If Zamir White and Alexander Madison are both out, okay, this needs to stop.
Dylan Lobby season? Is that what I'm hearing?
That
wouldn't bother me one bit at this point. Not
at all. We're kind of at that point in the season where, like, it doesn't matter. Just throw him out there. Like, give him the reps. There are reasons to try and win, but there are also strategies to, like, get players ready for next year. Make some roster decisions over the next 7 weeks. Like, you don't have to. Your starting lineup going into opening day is like, okay, this is the team we're going to win the Super Bowl with. But by the time you're 2-8, it's like hey, let's get some seasoning on these rookies. Let's, so I say, like, make Laube the running back one and just give him everything. See what happens.
I'm still holding on to him in one of my deeper dynasty leagues, but a guy like Antonio Pierce, like, I feel like he really doesn't like fumbling,
Correct.
and he fumbled in the preseason. First, I think only carry this year was a lost fumble as well in the regular season for Laube. So I've got to imagine that's the reason we haven't seen him since. He's just been completely doghoused.
Yeah.
So I just was curious your guys' perspective if you think he can get out back on the field and see some significant snaps before the end of the year.
Well, I've coached.
Go ahead, Bigz.
I've coached baseball at a few different levels, including high school. And when I had young teams, like when I was coaching 12-year-olds and 13-year-olds and stuff, I had an attitude or a mentality that mistakes should be taught through instead of punished. And I feel like Antonio Pierce is not that kind of coach. So, like, if a kid booted a ball, I would have him do drills. I wouldn't make him run. And my assistant coach got mad at me because I wasn't punishing the kid that, like, made an error in the game. And I'm like, if he runs, is that going to make him better at fielding ground balls? And no, it's not. If a guy fumbles the ball, is sitting him out going to get him any better? No, you put the ball in his hands and teach him how to properly hold on to the ball and not get it punched out. And that's what makes him a better player. And I don't think that Antonio Pierce is like that. Gerard Mayo is somehow, because Ramondre did the same damn thing. And everybody was like, oh, cut Ramondre. He fumbled. He's going to get benched. No, he came back the next week with his same share and he hasn't fumbled since. So I think that's the way that you have to deal with it. And I don't think that's who Antonio Pierce is.
I'm going to give John Laube a bit of a pass on this because, frankly, if G.J. Watt punched me in the gut, not only would I fumble, I'd shit my pants too. I'm just say run with Dylan Laube and see what he can do. And if he doesn't get punched by T.J. Watt again, he'll probably be fine.
Kind of like, oh, he dropped the ball because Ted Hendricks clotheslined him. Well,
I know, right?
Yeah.
Oh no, Chuck Bednarik clotheslined him and took his head off. Oh no, he's dead now.
We'll give you a Romanowski. You can throw Romanowski into one of those things too, just because this isn't about the Raiders. This is about the Raiders and the Broncos. All right.
I have another question for you guys, though, as Raiders fans. Do you think we talked earlier in the year? I told you I liked Antonio Pierce and like the mentality, but I feel like he might have lost that locker room, and things are starting to sour a little bit. Like, do you guys want him to be the coach next year?
I do. Yes.
Yeah,
I do too. I think this team has been so snake bit by poor personnel decisions, especially at quarterback, and also by injuries. I don't think we are seeing the best of what Antonio Pierce can be. I think we did see what Antonio Pierce can be at the end of last season. From the Giants game on forward, we saw the kind of coach Antonio Pierce actually is when he has a good team with a semi-decent quarterback and a defense that plays with his hair on fire. Which, frankly, we should have seen this year too, except somebody decided to sign Gardner Minshew and install him as the quarterback and hire a scrub like Luke Getsy as the offensive coordinator. I am a little bit excited because I saw a tweet during the Dolphins game from a Raiders fan who said, hey, look, Norv Turner brought the Antonio Gates offense with him. And I thought back to when I was a younger man in the early 2000s watching all these Charger games. And I don't remember any of I don't remember any of the wide receivers that like Drew Brees had or Phillip Rivers had. But I remember Antonio Gates. I remember him destroying everybody. And I figure we have a similar situation right now with Brock Bowers, because I don't think you could pull anybody off the street who wasn't a diehard Raider maniac like myself and say, hey, who are the top 3 wide receivers on the Raiders right now? Nobody could tell you. I could tell you, but I would say 95% of people probably couldn't tell you. But if you ask them who the Raiders tight end is, they would all know it was Brock freaking Bowers. So I'm excited for the future just for that reason.
And Michael Mayer is good too. And also I want to see Jacoby Myers get more than 6 targets in a game. At this point in the season in fantasy, through 7 games played, I know they've played 8 now, but I haven't checked since last week. So through seven games played, Jacoby Myers had actually been ahead of Devontae Adams in fantasy points scored.
Yep.
So I like Antonio Pierce, and I don't think this season is on him. I think that's why Getsy was fired and Antonio Pierce wasn't let go with him. I said on our show pretty early on that the way that I feel the Gardner Minshew thing happened was that was more of Telesco and Luke Getsy and Mark Davis and less Antonio Pierce. And Antonio Pierce just kind of capitulated and said, okay, fine. Aiden O'Connell is my guy, but you guys want Gardner Minshew. He's the guy you paid $12 million to, blah, blah, blah. We'll see how it goes. And that's what got Devontae Adams pissed off and run out of town. That's when we saw in the first game against the Chargers, like, this is not going to work because Gardner Minshew is not going to be able to make plays. He's not going to keep the offense on the field. The defense is going to get worn down. And what has happened over the course of the first 10 games of the season? The defense has been absolutely worn down. We lost Christian Wilkins. We lost our young stud defensive end, and we're watching the cornerback crew go down. I mean, it's just like the defense has played too many snaps, and that's not winning football. We have to keep the offense on the field, and it's not happening. A better offensive line to start the season would have done a lot to go that way, but Colton Miller was hurt, and he's had trouble getting himself back into the game, or back into playing at the level that he has over the last few years. So it's just been a fucking shitstorm of everything that could go wrong did go wrong. And we got to a point in the first month of the season that we couldn't recover from. So now it's about, for the team, not necessarily us, because we're like hoping for a tank, but for the team, it's about playing spoiler. So winning the division games that you're not supposed to win, taking people out if they have a playoff chance, things like that. And you know, sometimes, like the Colts over the last few years, you can be in that position and find yourself like on the cusp of a playoff, just like playing spoilers against people. And that could be a motivating factor. And we could see a different Raiders team in these next 2 months.
I think losing their way into an elite quarterback in the draft will be the best thing to happen to the Raiders in the last 20 years. Because we haven't had an elite quarterback since Tony Siragusa's fat ass did a body splash on a Rich Gannon and hurt him forever. We need somebody elite, because Derek Carr was elite for about 3 months in 2016, and that was just about it. So we need somebody who can be consistently good, consistently elite for their entire career. We haven't had that in a very, very, very long time.
Give me Travis Hunter and Quinn Ewers. Or Ashton John T. and Quinn Ewers. Huh?
What about Shador?
I don't want any part of Shador.
Shador's a pain in the ass.
When I watch Shador Sanders and Cam Ward, what I see is 2022 Bo Nix and Michael Penix, and those guys needed 2 more years of seasoning, and they wouldn't have been able to succeed in the NFL if they had come out when they were eligible. And so Shador needs to wait a couple years. I am perfectly happy with Deion Sanders becoming the next head coach of the Dallas Cowboys after Mike McCarthy gets fired, and bringing Shador with him, because they'll have a top 5 pick too.
At this point, I'd be happy with Jalen Milroe, because I see a lot of Lamar Jackson in his game. I think he's a lot better passer than people give him credit for, and he's an amazing runner. I think he would have a lot of success in the Raiders offense currently. But Cam Ward is at the top of my list right now.
Analytically, Quinn Ewers has the highest percentage of NFL hit rate. So he's the only quarterback in the class that was a 5-star for Rivals and 24/7. And everybody else is in the 10% NFL hit rate or hit range, and Quinn Ewers is at 25%. So I want him, and I know he can be had later than the other guys. So if we get the number 1 pick, trade back, kind of like what the Texans did. Grab Travis Hunter or Ashton John T. Hunter may find himself going 101. But I would love to have Charles Woodson with an offense career. You know what I mean? But John T will be there he'll be available in the top 5. He's going to be a game changer he's going to turn a franchise around. And then if you can add a Quinn Ewers to him, that would just be icing on the cake. But yeah, we're in draft mode right now.
We've been in draft mode since week 6.
You guys are like, oh, we might make the playoffs. And we're like, all right, who do we want to take with the number 4 pick?
I want to shift gears just a little bit because I think I cut out when we were talking about this. But, Marvin Mims is probably the most top popular guy when I do these shows in terms of like incoming comments from the fans. What's up with him? Where is he? I wrote a piece on Player Profiler a few weeks ago saying like, hey, this usage is interesting. You're hearing some coach speak around the Debo role, the Cordero Patterson role. But when you look at the snap share, and his production's gone up over the past 2 weeks, but it's 23% of the snaps and 22% of the snaps. So it's still dog shit snap share. Steven, what do you want ultimately, knowing that it won't be 100% for Marvin Mims? Like, where are you hoping? What are you hoping to see from him in terms of like, do you want him to be that wide receiver 2, getting 90% of the snaps next to Cortland Sutton, or do you think that's not realistic? I don't think that's realistic. So like, now we lost Steven. So
well.
But
yeah, and I gotta jump to my 5:00 show. So we should probably wrap it up. Raiders win. That's my take.
Broncos by 1 million. You already know.
That close, you think?
But after listening to you talk about how decimated the defense is, I think I am going to ride against the Raiders this week with my survivor pool and put in a bid for the Broncos, which is again kind of not my style to be a homer with these types of picks. But I think it's just I'll have to look at what the other like options I have are. But I think I might be riding with my team. So
I've always found in survivor pools, looking for the biggest road dog, usually every week. That tends to last quite a bit, because when somebody's set to lose on the road by 14.5 points, that's more likely to happen than not. So
yeah,
I'm gonna say this: the Broncos are probably going to win by a lot. But it will be a Pyrrhic victory for Denver because they will have beat the Raiders twice this season. And that's 2 more losses that the Raiders will use to get a high draft pick and take their quarterback of the future, who will beat the Broncos until the end of time.
Yeah,
so it's
Broncos.
on you. This is your fault, and you can sleep in that bed that you made.
Yeah. Also, it might be nice for you guys to be 2-10 against the Las Vegas Raiders instead of 0-10. Wrap it up. That's what Broncos fans need to do so they stop reproducing. All right, and here
paying this Jamie guy, bro. Jesus, he's just ruthless with it.
Hey,
well,
he gets my entire salary from this show for all
here's the thing. Good luck getting a higher pick than the Broncos. They'll definitely pick the wrong player for the Broncos to get a value. And Robin said, no one hates the Broncos more than a Browns fan, which is true. And then he said, I actually don't hate the Broncos. Somebody told me to come in the chat to talk shit. So last night on Uncovered, I asked for people to get in the comment section and just talk shit to you the whole show.
I need more Broncos fans. Like I need a Jamie for us, bro.
Well, Jamie, reach out to @FantasyPicasso on Twitter, and he'll let you know when his next show is, because Jamie's in all of my Player Profiler chats. He's in all of my Uncovered chats. Like he's a dog, and I really appreciate him. Met him at the Fantasy Football Expo.
Oh, cool.
Yeah.
He's the guy who said last time we heard a dog barking in the background, he's like, is that my ex?
Yes. Yeah. All right. I got to get out of here, and you guys have been great. Thank you for watching. When is your show? When do you usually post your show, Johnny?
We are normally this time slot, 7 p.m. on Wednesdays. Sorry for the technical difficulties tonight, gang. Appreciate you guys rocking with us.
Yeah.
Going to do some troubleshooting on my end and make sure this doesn't happen again. And I feel like I'm kind of sad because I enjoyed our first show. I was really looking forward to tonight. And now it's like how, we'll have to figure out a way for us to sync up again and do like a season recap or something. I don't know,
Sure, and maybe when we see each other week 1 in the playoffs.
You're right. That's not happening. That's my point. I'm like, this is goodbye.
Right. Well, I mean, you can always invite us on, etc. And everybody, thank you for watching. Like, subscribe, hit the bell. If you like Raiders football, watch us Tuesday nights at 8 p.m. Eastern or 8 p.m. Pacific, 11 o'clock Eastern, and watch Jonny right now next week. Fuck the Broncos.
Thank you.